Once upon a time, in a distant village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a kind-hearted young man named Raghav. He was known for his generosity and wisdom, always willing to lend a hand to those in need. He lived a simple life tending to a small farm, but his heart was rich with goodness. The villagers admired him, and many came to him for advice. Every morning, the village would come alive with the sounds of laughter and chatter as Raghav often found himself in the town square helping others and sharing his wisdom. Children would gather around him, captivated by his stories that spoke of kindness and bravery. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Raghav often sought solitude on a grassy hill, contemplating the beauty of life and the lessons he had learned. The stars above seemed to whisper secrets, inspiring him to dream of adventures beyond the hills. One fateful night, as he sat in contemplation, a mysterious old man appeared before him, holding a shimmering golden feather that glowed softly in the moonlight. Raghav's heart raced with curiosity and awe as he wondered about the significance of the feather and what adventures it might bring. One day, as Raghav was walking near the edge of the forest, he stumbled upon a wounded bird. Its feathers were golden, shimmering under the sun's rays, and its wings were broken. The bird, despite its pain, gazed up at Raghav with pleading eyes. Without hesitation, Raghav gently scooped the bird up in his hands and whispered softly, "Don't worry, I will help you." Raghav found a small makeshift nest nearby, crafted from twigs and soft leaves. He gently placed the bird inside, ensuring it was comfortable and safe. Watching over it, he pledged to do everything he could to nurse it back to health. Raghav settled under the shade of a sturdy tree, determined to help the fragile creature. With a first aid kit laid open next to him, he meticulously tended to the bird's broken wing, pouring his heart into every gentle motion. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the scene, Raghav noticed the bird's eyes slowly closing in relaxation, feeling safe for the first time. With a gentle smile, he offered the bird small pieces of fruit, nurturing their bond of trust. Raghav took the bird back to his home and tended to its wounds. He used herbs from his garden to heal its broken wings and provided food and water for it. The bird, although initially weak, soon regained its strength. Raghav grew fond of the bird, and it began to trust him. Days passed, and the bird would chirp cheerfully, fluttering its golden wings around the house. As days turned into weeks, Raghav's home filled with the joyful sounds of the birds chirping. The bond between them strengthened, and Raghav began to feel a sense of companionship he'd never experienced before. Every morning, the bird would greet him with the melody that brightened his day, its vibrant spirit bringing warmth to his heart. One bright morning, Raghav decided it was time for the bird to spread its wings. With a mixture of excitement and anxiety, he opened the window, allowing the bird to explore the world outside. To his delight, the bird soared into the air, performing graceful loops and dives, an embodiment of the freedom it had longed for. One morning, after several weeks of recovery, the bird hopped onto Raghav's shoulder and said, "I must go now. But before I leave, I want to offer you something in return for your kindness." Raghav smiled warmly. "You don't owe me anything. Helping you was the right thing to do." The bluebird looked up at Raghav, its eyes sparkling with gratitude as it prepared to soar into the sky. "I have seen the kindness in your heart, and for that I wish to grant you a single wish before I leave," the bird declared. But the bird insisted, "You have a good heart, and I believe in rewarding goodness. I will give you a gift that will change your life. Take this golden feather." The bird plucked a single feather from its plumage and handed it to Raghav. "Whenever you face a difficult situation, hold this feather and make a wish. It will grant you what you need." Raghav felt a surge of excitement and skepticism as he examined the golden feather, closely questioning whether such magic could truly exist. He decided to test the bird's promise, thinking about a challenge he faced in his life. With a deep breath, Raghav closed his eyes and concentrated on his greatest wish, to excel in his studies and find a path to a brighter future. As he whispered his desire, he felt a warm energy radiate from the feather. Raghav was taken aback but accepted the feather with gratitude. He thanked the bird and it flew away, leaving Raghav standing in the sunlight holding the golden feather. For many years, Raghav lived contentedly, always helping others whether they were poor or wealthy. One day, a great famine struck the land. Crops withered and many people in the village began to starve. Raghav, feeling compassion for his fellow villagers, recalled the golden feather. Remembering the bird's words, he decided to try it out. With a sense of purpose, Raghav approached the center of the village where the people looked to him for guidance. He raised the golden feather above his head, feeling its warmth as he whispered a wish for plenty. To everyone's amazement, a gentle breeze began to stir, and the feather glowed brighter, drawing the attention of every villager. Slowly, dark clouds gathered overhead, and rain began to fall, nourishing the dry earth once again. As the villagers danced in joy, Raghav smiled, knowing that their unity and belief had sparked this miracle. Holding the golden feather tightly in his hand, he whispered a wish. Please grant me a way to save my village from this famine. To his astonishment, the feather began to glow brightly. A warm light enveloped Raghav, and soon a large sack of golden grains appeared before him. The golden grains were unlike anything the villagers had ever seen. They were abundant and nutritious enough to feed the entire village for months. Raghav took the sack to the village square and distributed the grains to everyone in need. As the villagers gathered around him, Raghav felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that hope had returned to their community. The air was filled with laughter and gratitude, a reminder that even in the darkest times, a single wish can change everything. In that moment, Raghav realized the true power of hope and generosity as the bonds of their community grew stronger than ever before. As night fell, the villagers gathered for a feast, celebrating not just the grains, but the spirit of togetherness that had been reignited. With every bite shared and every story told, Raghav understood that true wealth lay not in riches, but in the love and support of his community. The villagers were overjoyed and praised Raghav for his wisdom and generosity. Word spread quickly, and people from neighboring villages also came to Raghav for help. In every case, Raghav would use the golden feather, and it would provide exactly what was needed. Whether it was food, water, or medicine, the feather always granted his wishes. Raghav stands at the edge of a serene pond, holding the golden feather above the water's surface as shimmering light reflects off the liquid, illuminating the faces of eager villagers waiting nearby. A heartwarming scene unfolds as villagers celebrate around a bountiful feast laid out on a long table, fruits and vegetables glistening under the sunlight, with Raghav joyfully sharing stories with children. A panoramic view reveals Raghav surrounded by villagers with children playing and laughing around him, the golden feather glowing gently in his hand as he shares his wisdom. Villagers from several neighboring communities gathered in a lively assembly under the shade of large trees, eyes filled with anticipation as Raghav stands before them ready to help once more with the golden feather. But Raghav, despite his newfound ability, remained humble. He never asked for anything for himself, always using the feather to help others. Soon, however, the people around him began to notice something strange. The more Raghav helped, the more people began to seek his assistance for their own gain. A few villagers, greedy and selfish, began asking Raghav to use the feather for their personal desires. Despite the growing pressure, Raghav felt a tug at his heart. Each plea came with a heavy weight of expectation that began to overwhelm his spirit. He realized that the gift he once saw as a blessing was now being exploited by those who only saw it as a means to satisfy their own greed. As Raghav pondered, he understood that true kindness could not be measured by the number of wishes granted. He longed to help those in genuine need, but feared losing the essence of compassion that had guided his actions. With a heavy heart, he resolved to find a way to use the feather wisely, ensuring it would only bring joy and not serve as a gateway to selfish desires. One man asked, "Can you wish for me to become the richest person in the village?" Another asked, "Can you wish for me to have the most beautiful house?" Raghav was troubled by these requests. He had always used the feather selflessly, but now it was being asked to fulfill selfish desires. He pondered the situation deeply and realized that while the feather had brought great benefits to the village, it was also tempting people to become selfish. Raghav sat alone under a large tree, holding the feather tightly, lost in contemplation of the growing selfishness around him. He gazed at the village where the warm hues of sunset bathed the simple homes, reminding him of the harmony that once prevailed before these wishes began to disrupt their way of life. Raghav decided to gather the villagers standing tall in the village square as he addressed their eager faces. With conviction in his voice, he spoke passionately about the true meaning of community and how their increasing desires threatened the unity they had celebrated for generations. One evening, Raghav sat alone, contemplating what to do. He held the golden feather in his hands, and realized that it was not the feather that had done the good deeds, but his own heart. The feather was merely a tool, but it was his compassion and generosity that had made the difference. The true power lay in the selflessness he had always practiced. With a newfound sense of purpose, Raghav rose from the bench, the sunset igniting a spark within him. He understood that the feather was just a reminder of the power of kindness, which he decided to share with the world around him. The next day, Raghav called the villagers together. "I have realized something important," he said. "This feather is not the source of the goodness I've done. It is my actions and the kindness in my heart that have made a difference. I no longer wish to rely on this feather. We must learn to help one another without expecting anything in return." One by one, the villagers began sharing their own stories of kindness, realizing that their collective strength lay in the connections they forged. Raghav felt a warmth spread through him, knowing that true change was taking root in their hearts. As laughter filled the air, Raghav looked at the children with a sense of hope, understanding that the seeds of kindness he had planted were growing. The villagers eagerly brainstormed ways to uplift each other, igniting a newfound sense of purpose. Days turned into weeks as the villagers united their efforts, transforming not just their community, but the essence of their relationships. Raghav felt an overwhelming sense of pride witnessing their commitment to kindness and support for one another. With that, Raghav placed the feather in the center of the village square and told everyone to leave it there. It was a symbol of the kindness they should all carry in their hearts. Over time, the villagers, inspired by Raghav's wisdom, learned to be kind and generous without relying on magical gifts. They helped each other, shared their resources, and supported one another in times of need. As days turned into weeks, the villagers began to practice acts of kindness, transforming their community into a haven of support and compassion. The laughter echoed through the streets as they came together for festivals, celebrating the new spirit of generosity that had taken root. The once quiet village became alive with laughter and joy as the spirit of kindness blossomed like flowers in spring. Each act of generosity cultivated deeper connections, weaving a rich fabric of friendship among the villagers. Raghav took on the role of a mentor, sharing his insights and experiences, which inspired further acts of kindness. The villagers flourished under this guidance, each individual contributing to a culture where compassion was cherished and celebrated. Raghav's lesson was simple but profound. True generosity comes from within, not from external rewards or magical solutions. The villagers thrived not because of the golden feather, but because they had learned the power of selfless acts and the strength of community. As the sun set, the villagers came together, realizing that it was not the objects or wealth that brought them happiness, but the bonds they formed through acts of kindness and cooperation. Raghav's words resonated deeply, igniting a spark of compassion in everyone as they began to understand that true richness lies in the generosity of their hearts and the connection they share with one another. In the vibrant village market, the spirit of generosity flourished as bartering and sharing became a joyful celebration of community, leaving no one feeling left out or forgotten. And so Raghav lived the rest of his days as a beloved figure in the village, not for his magic or wealth, but for the kindness and wisdom he shared with others. His legacy lived on for generations, teaching all who heard his story that the greatest gift one can give is not material wealth, but a heart full of kindness and compassion. True goodness and generosity come from within. It is not material gifts, magical powers, or external rewards that make a difference in the world, but the kindness, compassion, and selflessness we show to others. As time passed, the tales of Raghav's generosity spread far and wide, inspiring not just the villagers, but travelers who came to learn from his example. Raghav became a symbol of hope and compassion, reminding people everywhere that small acts of kindness could change the world. Each year, the villagers celebrated a day dedicated to Raghav, honoring his memory by sharing acts of kindness and encouraging one another to spread love and compassion. This tradition not only kept Raghav's spirit alive, but also strengthened the bonds among the villagers, ensuring that his lessons would echo through time.